Welcome to week 2 for introducing social psychology. We're going to be talking about what social psychology is, what they study, right? And then goals of social psychology. So it's going to be very much of an introduction to all of social psychology. So I'm going to go over a little bit in this lecture video right here, but we'll get started. So I wanted to talk about more specifically kind of everything that you're going to read, but very, very briefly. So we're going to define social psychology, which is just the scientific way of studying our thoughts, feelings, and behaviors, and how they're going to be influenced by other people or just even the thought of other people, right? So sometimes, at least I do things when we're kind of out and maybe something happens, right? Let's say I drop something on the floor, right? And I'm like trying to rush to pick it up and no one's in the room. And it's just like, okay, well, but if somebody was here, that this would be really embarrassing, right? I'm changing the way I behave by picking things up really, really fast because I think that maybe if somebody walks in or if somebody was in here, this would be really embarrassing, right? So I even gave a little scenario of when you were walking down the street alone, right? And let's say you realize you're walking in the wrong direction and you're just like, oh my gosh, this was really embarrassing. I have to walk the other way now. Everyone's going to be looking at me. So let me pretend I'm on the phone with my friend, right? And then pretend that I have to actually go back, right? Oh, yeah. So why do we care so much about what strangers think, right? We don't even know these people, but why do we care what they think about? So that is social influence, right? Just people being around influences us to act differently, right? And so social influence is extremely important when we're talking about social psychology because it has to do with everything. And social influence is one concept that's going to be continuously coming up this entire semester. So we want to talk about the goals of social psychology, right? So basically everything I explained, us changing our behaviors for strangers, other people, why do we do that, right? That is basically the question that social psychology wants to answer. That is the goal. Why do we change our behavior when it comes to other people? Right? What does everyone, right? Me, you, other people around the world, what do we all have in common? What are some universal properties of human nature, right? That we might act differently when we're embarrassed, right? So regardless of social class, gender, and culture, what are things that we all have in common? That is what the goal of social psychology is. So right now I want to go into the situation of power of the situation, and I'm going to talk about the fundamental attribution error. So I want to explain it a little bit more because this is a concept that might be difficult to grasp. So maybe if you're reading it, it didn't make any sense. But essentially, right, the fundamental attribution error is making an error, right, in someone's attributions. When we think of somebody's attributions, we think of their character, right, the characteristics that they have. So the fundamental attribution error is that when somebody makes a mistake, or maybe even you make a mistake, right, you or not even a mistake, just anything good that you do and anything bad that somebody else does, we explain it in terms of their attributes, right? How they are as a person. Like if I get an A on a test, I'm like, well, I'm just really, really smart, right? Instead of thinking, hey, I think actually maybe the test was just really easy. The professor taught everything really well. And that's why I got an A. No, right? Like I got an A because I'm a genius, right? Versus let's say somebody is really, really late. In the example that I gave you, right, in the as a meme, right? Somebody's late, like, oh, well, they're just a bad person. They don't respect anyone's time, right? That's why they're late. But what if they got stuck in traffic, right? What if they got caught in an accident? What if they woke up late? There's always something that's going on in the situation, right? So fundamental attribution error is this error in not seeing the whole picture, right? Not seeing the full situation. So that's what the fundamental attribution error is. So like I gave you the scenario of you feeling sick, right? And maybe slipping things, like not being able to do things for work, right? And your boss is like, you're just lazy. And you're like, actually, no, I've been sick for so long. This is why, right? So what happens with the fundamental attribution error is we completely ignore the power of social influence, the social influence of other cars on the road for traffic, right? The social influence of you being sick from other people, right? So what that does, right? When we underestimate the power of the influence, of social influence. We oversimplify complex situations. There's more to situations than that meets the eye, right? So that's how we don't understand the true causes of someone being late, someone turning in things late for work, right? So that's what the fundamental attribution error is. I hope that was clear. I will see you in the next video.